Right, so in this video, we're going to talk about why this is the once-in-a-lifetime generational investment opportunity that we are living in at the moment. And it's not just based on hype, it's not just, FOMO, it is real facts that we're looking at here. We're going to look at why this is such a special opportunity and why it is so predictable. If we look at the past, we can see what's going to happen in the future. So, why is this a once-in-a-lifetime setup? Non-repeatable event that is happening. Right, so the first thing, AI will not be invented twice. Okay? For a start, AI is only going to get invented once. I know there's going to be AGI and things in the future, but basically it's still AI. This is why it's a historic moment that we're living through. What you don't want to have after this video is you have some sort of fear of missing out and feel like you've got need to rush to make your investments. You have plenty of time, as you'll see throughout this video. Why is AI so special? Because it's the first technology to automate thinking, not just doing. And because of AI, we have an alignment across incentives, across all different systems. So the bond market want low inflation. They won't buy a 10-year Treasury yield unless they feel that inflation will be controlled in the future. The Federal Reserve, they want stability. So they do not want inflation to run out of control and spiral out of control. They want stability, which I'll get to why that's going to happen in a minute. Investors want growth. They want the companies that they invest in. You want free cash flow for your businesses. You want liquidity so your stocks go up. Okay, government and the Treasury, they want their debt to be cheaper. They don't want the US debt to be high on the bond yields. They want that to come down because it's unsustainable to keep the yields so high. So, what's AI got to do with any of that? For a start, the purpose of AI is it's going to increase the productivity. That is why it is so special and why it's so important. Because right now, policy is becoming pro-asset by necessity. And what AI is going to do is it's going to push productivity in the most inflation-sensitive sectors. So healthcare, education, finance, logistics, like management. So AI is going to increase the productivity. And if the economy can increase its productivity, it can handle more money in the economy. Because something that people don't really think about, or people that you don't know, is the Federal Reserve cannot control productivity. In fact, I would debate that they can't even really control inflation itself. All they can do is cut interest rates, which incentivize a bank to lend. They're the ones that print money. The Fed doesn't print money. Banks print money. And if inflation goes up, all they can do is put the brakes on. They can't actually control inflation. Inflation is controlled by productivity, and productivity is controlled by businesses. So that is why we are living in such a historic time. And I believe over the next 3 to 10 years, between 3 years and 10 years, you're going to see dramatic increase in big tech's growth, with no question about it. Because right now we are at the very start of the big tech companies are investing all their money into AI, and Wall Street is saying, where's the profits? Where's the profits? Where's the productivity? We don't see the productivity. And that is exactly how it's going to go. In fact, I'm saying all this because this is banking on AI increasing productivity, when in actual fact, it will not do that between now and the next maybe 3 to 10 years. In fact, humans will actively resist it. Businesses will actively resist it, because this is exactly what happened when the internet and computers were invented. Humans are so predictable that makes this investment setup so predictable, which is a good thing for you as an investor. So the productivity paradox, the technology is not the problem, humans are the problem. Okay, so big tech moves extremely fast, while the true economy moves very slow. General people are just sleepwalking on this technology. They're sleepwalking through day-to-day life. They are very slow to change anything. especially certain sectors and certain businesses and industries. So if we just take an extremely powerful new technology, it will not create any productivity in that industry if it's still part of the same old inefficient workflow. And to understand this, we need to look at the 90s when the computer was first brought out. And when you see the similarities to the 90s to today, you're going to understand where I'm coming from and why this investment opportunity is so big. I want you to imagine, okay, it's the 90s and a PC has just been put into an office. Because there's all this hype from big tech about computers are going to change everything, computers are going to increase productivity, and the economy is going to blow up the exact same like I'm talking about today. So when you put the computer into the office, let's say Mr. Smith's desk, he has now been given a computer and he can now type his client memos on a screen. Before, he had to write it out by hand, he had to give it to the secretary had to typewrite it, and then they had to sign it, and then they had to put it in a folder, and it was this long, inefficient process. But now he's got a computer, and what he can do is he can type the computer on the screen, and it's on the network. So much time can be saved. However, no time is saved. Why? Because Mr. Smith says this memo is far too important just to exist on a screen. It needs to be official. So I want to print it out. And then I want to get the secretary to typewrite it anyway, just as a backup. He has fear and distrust. I do not trust the network to save it forever. What if the server crashes? If the server crashes, I'll lose the file. Okay? Organisation. This is the big one. In the official manual of the business, let's say, it requires all memos to be signed in blue ink and added to the memo folder. So we've given him a great technology to use, but actually all he's doing is the same workflow, but slightly faster. See, we didn't fire Mr. Smith, we just gave him a computer. So there was no productivity increase. And you're seeing the exact same situation with AI. Only a few select, perhaps small businesses and small companies are able to increase the productivity. And there's other things we haven't factored in. Let's say AI allows someone to code something faster because it can just do it in 30 seconds. It can type a program. So the coder can type it 50% faster. But what if he just takes the time to himself? Okay, if they just take the time, all they're doing is turning that extra productivity. They're just taking the productivity of that extra, say, half an hour saved, and he's just using it to do nothing. So the business has no productivity gains, and there's no benefits seen from the new technology. See, unless the actual business changes its entire structure around the new system, no productivity will happen. This is exactly what happened in the 90s with computers, until businesses realised they have to change their business around the technology rather than putting the technology into their system. That is why they hadn't any productivity. Now, although a CEO has the formal authority over a company, the real authority is middle managers. Middle managers control the day-to-day operations, and they're going to actively resist AI because humans have ego, humans are insecure, and they want to justify their own income. So it's easier for them just to do nothing and keep everything the same rather than actually increase productivity for the company. It's not within their interest, it's not their incentive. So many employees and managers will actively resist giving any control to an AI because they feel that their judgment is superior and using the tool is cheating. So the tech is ready, but the organisation is not ready. You even see it now when you're looking at old companies and they're saying you cannot use any AI when you are maybe applying for the job role, or you can't use it because it's viewed as cheating. The thing is, in the real economy, there's no such thing outside of the law. There's no rules in business. So there isn't such thing as cheating. All that matters is the outcome. But humans are so stuck in their own insecurity and their own ego that they are going to resist any new technology that makes them look irrelevant, because then they think, well, if this AI can do an analyst report in 30 seconds, how can I justify a 70 grand a year salary for the analyst or for themselves. See, that's what's the biggest challenge is going to be for artificial intelligence. The humans are going to block it. We block it ourselves because they're not have a growth mindset. Whereas the early adopters to artificial intelligence and actually use it to be more productive and to use it as an amplifier of their own knowledge and their own skills, these are the people that will see the greatest results, and these are the companies that will push forward and grow. That's why big tech is already set up to win, because big tech is moving so fast and aggressively on artificial intelligence that they're positioned to win. Big tech are positioned to win. The only time that companies and businesses in the normal street economy will actually change their organisation around the new tech is when economic pain sets in. It is going to take them, like, you're going to see a lot of insolvencies, you're going to see bankruptcies from old businesses that do not want to change and do not want to keep up with the technology. This is exactly what will happen. You're going to see, until their competitor undercuts their pricing, because they can do it faster, because they've actually taken away a headcount and they've truly increased their productivity because they've positioned it around the AI rather than the other way about. So until the pain sets in and the company realises, okay, we have now got no choice but to change because our competitors can outperform us in every way, then they'll make the change. But until that point, companies are slow, lethargic, just scoff at new technology. This has happened all throughout human history. When electricity was invented, it took 30 years for the economy to actually start properly being accustomed to it. They were so used to like the steam engine. The same thing, it took 15 years for computers to actually, the economy to realise the benefit and the advantages of computers. Big tech is moving so fast that the street economy can't keep up. So this is why you've got this whole bubble conversation, because the big institutions there's the investments going between them. So we're going to talk about that as well, because people have big questions about, well, Nvidia is investing in OpenAI and OpenAI buys the chips from Nvidia. So why is it they're all just investing in each other? This is a big question that people have, and I have the answer. Because the exact same thing happened in the dot-com era. So you had the hardware, you had Intel, you had IBM, you had Dell. The software was Microsoft and Oracle. The telecommunications was Cisco. So Microsoft licensed Windows to Dell. Dell then bought chips from Intel. The money circulated between these companies, the early adopters, before even the consumers even had a clue what the internet was. People didn't even know what the internet was, and yet you've got all these big tech companies circulating money between themselves. Exactly what is happening today. Something really funny as well. During the dot-com era, Nvidia existed at the exact same time and was selling GPUs 25 years ago. It was selling GPUs. Nvidia was actually part of the dot-com bubble crash. Nvidia nearly went bankrupt twice. It had the technology 25 years too early, which is crazy. So what happened in the dot-com era was capex exploded. That's capital expenditure. That exploded. Companies were buying computers faster than they could even know how to use them. So actually these companies increased their costing with no productivity because of what we just said. So their costs went up, productivity stayed the exact same, maybe slightly faster. So their profits didn't even take effect. So then you on top of that, the real reason the dot-com crash happened is because of liquidity contraction. So when liquidity contraction happens, that is when you see who was hype and who was not. Okay, so because that's when earnings actually matter. Right now, we're in a massive bull market. And making this video, we're in 2025. Banks are lending aggressively because the 2-year Treasury is lower than the 10-year Treasury. We've got a steep yield curve. So that is incentivizing the money printers. The real money printers are the banks. Banks print money. The Fed cannot print money. It's a huge misconception people have. So we're in a bull market. So some companies are trading way above valuation. Palantir, right? Okay, Palantir's sitting at like a 500 price to earnings ratio. When liquidity contracts, that will crash like 80 to 90%. That is not a matter of if, that's a matter of when, because the company's earnings do matter. The great thing we're in right now is big tech have massive free cash flow and they do have earnings. That is what we are seeing, that's why it's slightly different to the dot-com bubble, but we're seeing the exact same pattern. Now here's the kicker. After the dot-com bubble crashed, the infrastructure that was overbuilt became the backbone of the modern digital economy. So all this upfront investment turned out that it actually mattered. So we have three rules here. We have capital circulates among the early adopters, just like Microsoft, Intel, IBM and Dell. The loop then breaks, it reorganises itself, and what looks like a bubble is actually a massive down payment on a new economic layer. We are positioned to take part in a non-repeatable event. So if you are an investor right now in big tech companies, strong big tech companies with free cash flow, with actual earnings, these companies are positioned to win. I believe we're at the start of a J curve, right? So I don't believe, because of how slow the economy moves, the street economy moves, at the moment the Fed is cutting rates. What I personally believe is on this cycle, we're not going to see the AI hit these big organisations because they're too slow. I do believe the Fed will, in the next couple of years, will see a liquidity contraction. So we will see, companies be exposed, a major liquidity contraction. But then we'll have exponential growth on the next cycle because once AI hits the real economy and it is integrated into businesses, we will have lower inflation. See, another big misconception that people have, they think that if there's more money added into the economy, it automatically leads to inflation. This is not true. Inflation is too much money going after too few goods. What if it's too much money going after plenty of goods? It's neutral, it cancels itself out. Inflation can only happen if the economy cannot handle the demand. If the economy can handle the demand, we can keep low inflation while liquidity is getting pumped into the economy, and the Fed can keep rates low. This is crucial. The bond market do not want inflation. Why would you invest in a 10-year Treasury yield at 4%, a 4% yield, if inflation is going to go higher than that? You'll lose money on the bond. So they want low inflation. The Fed wants stability, they want low inflation, they don't want to hike rates. Okay? They want the economy to grow. The government and Treasury want this low because the debt is so big, they don't want to be paying high interest rate on this debt. So everyone's lining up because we all want the same thing. So the Fed cannot control the productivity. This is what people need to realise. The Fed, they can't print money, even though you think this is a massive misconception. People think the Fed just print money. That doesn't happen. The Fed don't print money. The Fed cannot control long-term Treasury yields. They can only incentivise it. Okay, so we're in a position here where you can invest into these big tech companies or invest in the S&P 500. You're in a position to see I believe we're in a position to see massive upside. And we'll be prepared for the liquidity contraction. Okay, so that's why I'm not investing in companies with super high valuations. I'm only investing in solid blue chip companies with high free cash flow. I'm invested in Meta, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia. Nvidia's positioned to win. I was hesitant on Nvidia before because I thought that, okay, their only customers are the hyperscalers. So I was a bit hesitant. But the more I look at it and the more I think about where robotics is going, humanoid robotics, that's not even been factored into this. This is just factored on what AI can do right now. So, an exciting time to be investing. This allows you to see through all the noise. See this, there's so much hype and information getting passed about on these topics. And actually, if you just look, when we look closely at the past, we can see how predictive humans are. So I hope you like the video. Please leave a comment if you like it. Subscribe to the channel and you'll get more valuable information on investing, the economy. This is to empower you because most people are economically disempowered because they don't have the knowledge to make wise investment decisions. Thank you.